The Jake Asman Show will begin shortly. Thanks to all these great Patreon members who help support the show. Get your SuperChats ready. Jake will be here in just a moment. If you love the New York Jets, this is the place to be. And now, the Jake Asman Show.
Aaron Rodgers offered a blunt assessment on why the Jets continue to lose football games. Can it be fixed? We'll talk about that and much more with Ryan Sampson, the host of the Gangs All Here podcast with the New York Post. It's the Jake Asman Show. Let's hit it and get it started. Man, our Jets are primed for a historic season. Bleed Jets green each and every day. This is not the same old Jets. We have Aaron freaking Rodgers. We have Garrett Wilson. Let's go. We have Breece Hall. Please subscribe and hit the like button below. Super Chat, baby. Cut the line. We have Sauce Gardner. We have Quinnen Williams. The Jets bandwagon is loaded. Now it's time to talk all things New York Jets. It's the Jake Asman Show. Here we go, Jet fans. Welcome in, everybody. Before we get started, a huge shout-out to everyone who continues to support this channel. If you have yet to subscribe, please do so. We are approaching 40,000 subscribers here on the channel. Couldn't do it without you, so thanks to everyone for your support. I look forward to hanging out with a bunch of Asmaniacs this Sunday for our next watch party. Win or lose, we booze, Jet fans. Come join us at T-Squared Social in Midtown Manhattan. Free event, free admission, just RSVP. So we can get the appropriate head count. We'll have giveaways, drink specials, food specials, the Jet game on many of the TVs. Plus, don't worry, we'll have the other games on the TV too, Red Zone channel. We're sadly approaching that time of year where you care about the Jets, but I want to check out the other games too. So we'll have the Red Zone channel on a bunch of TVs as well. So join us, have fun, and commiserate watching Jets football all together. The link to RSVP is in the description for the video. Joining us right now is someone I'm a big fan of. He is the co-host of the Gangs All Here podcast with the New York Post. Him and Brian Costello do a great job. The great Ryan Sampson joins us now, a diehard Jet fan making his debut on the show. What's up, Ryan?
What's going on, Jake? Thank you for having me, man.
Man, I wish it was under better circumstances, but listening to you and Frankie V, who's a big, I'm a big fan of, he's been on the show a bunch. It's cathartic after some of these games, man. I mean, a couple days removed from that debacle on Sunday, where are you at with this 2-5 team?
Yeah, I think I was probably really hard on them, obviously, just because Sunday felt like that day where it's a must win. You're 2-4 heading into that game. I was hard. I said a lot of things I probably shouldn't have said, but at the end of the day, they needed to be said because, I don't know, Jake, like this is probably the most disappointing season I think I've ever watched as a Jets fan, just because of all the hype and the build that we've been into it. And ultimately, number 8, Aaron Rodgers, after watching the film and looking at the plays, looking at the schemes, and at all the storylines, whether it's on or off the field, he's been a major disappointment. That there's no doubt about it. And I know not all of the interceptions are his fault, and I know not all the plays that they're drawing up are probably what he likes, and he doesn't have receivers that are on his page, for most of the season. But you're a Hall of Fame quarterback. You're one of the most talented quarterbacks. And for me, I've been severely disappointed in what I've seen so far from Aaron Rodgers.
I think my biggest frustration, besides just like that, is like some of the things we were relying on to insert Rodgers back into this team just haven't been there. He hasn't had the running game we thought he was going to have. After what Breece did last year, this offensive line, Breece, whatever the case may be, the running game has taken a huge step back. And last year they had worse talent that he was dealing with and a way worse quarterback. To me, the defense, obviously injuries playing a part of that, but just Joe Douglas's decisions this offseason and some poor luck for sure, just decimating that D-line room. Just some of the things you were counting on. Greg Zuerlein could have missed for 2 years when this team was bad. Now he can't hit anything. They'd have at least another win, if not 2, if he was last year's version of himself. So like some of these things you thought you were going to have with Rodgers being back, just playing competently, you thought you'd win a lot of games, and they don't have that right now. So you almost need, like, not MVP Rodgers, but you need like top 5, top 10 version of Rodgers. And I don't know if he's that guy right now. He's probably around that 15 to 18 range at this point, and even that might be generous. He's kind of been up and down, so It's a mess, man. I'm with you. This hurts more than last year so far, because last year you knew what the problem was, we thought, and now it's like here we are, 2-5 with a to me a more talented team, Ryan, and it feels so much worse.
Right. That's the word. That's the key word I think everyone keeps throwing around, right? Jake, talent. How talented this team is. Woody Johnson comes out and says, how talented is this team right now? This is the most talented team I've seen in my 20 plus years owning this team. Talent can only get you so far. And I think we're realizing that there's a top to bottom. And this is what I've been trying to, again, reconcile with, just like understand what the hell's going on with this franchise these past couple weeks. It's from the top bottom, man. Like, you're not getting good quarterback play. You're the players you're counting on in Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, they're having down seasons. Like let's be real. Like I know they're talented and I know they have all the hype, but they're not performing up to the expectations or taking that next step that you would hope for as a Jets fan after you saw for the first couple of years with them. And then I think there's something with the coaching. Like the Robert Saleh stuff. You decided to dismiss him because you didn't like the vibe that was going on Woody Johnson, and you didn't like how him as a head coach, what he was doing for you. Okay. There's a lot of things there with Robert Saleh under his tenure. Your defense, strong, but your run defense was always a weakness, and that's being exposed this year. Your starts to games have been one of the worst I've seen as a Jets fan. It's every single game, right, Jake? Like, they come out slow. They make mistakes. They're always playing behind the sticks. They're taking dumb penalties on defense, whether it be offsides or PI calls in the most inopportune situations. I always think about that John Franklin Myers roughing the passer. It was a terrible call, but like those are the things that the Robert Saleh's team always was doing. Like, they had most inopportune penalties. They always were playing behind, and they just were never getting after teams like you would have hoped for to start the game. And that's the coaching aspect. And I just don't know if the coaching is up to par compared to these other teams that you're facing now in the NFL. Like, we saw a masterclass from Mike Tomlin, who decided against all the advisors and all the media saying you should stick with Justin Fields. He goes with Russell Wilson, and Russell looked terrible in the first half, but look at the second half and look what Russ was able to do. And the moon ball, which again, it comes down to coaching on the Jets. I'm all over the place right now, but the Jets defense, the DBs, it looked like they never known that a moon ball was thrown from Russell Wilson before. We know for our entire lives since Russell Wilson entered the NFL, he is the best moon ball deep shot thrower. But I mean by moon ball is the ball's going to drop in a bucket. He's going to throw it high arc. It's going to sail up there. It looks like it's up there forever, but he has such great accuracy in that he could drop it in a receiver's hands. And the DBs like Sauce and Eccles, these guys were looking at it like, oh, can I play the ball in the air? Am I allowed to do that? That comes down to coaching. That's on the DB's coach saying, like, listen, man, this is what Russ is going to do. He's going to take the shots downfield. Justin Fields ain't going to be doing this, but this is Russell Wilson. So I don't understand how I could see continuous plays like that downfield, and that's disappointing as a defense for the defense that you're supposed to be strong at, especially the pass secondary. I don't want to hear DJ Reed was the injury and the reason why you guys lost that game. You were not good from start to finish defensively. That's the truth of it. I mean, they had the chance in the first half to step on their throats, and they didn't. They let them back in. It's a mess, man, from the top to bottom. And that's what we're watching week after week. It's progressing and it's getting worse.
It's just beyond frustrating. And staying with your point on coaching, like, if there was ever a game for Sauce Gardner to shadow the Steelers' only legitimate weapon in George Pickens, it was this game. I mean, the fact that Reed didn't play, Carter didn't play, and the Steelers' weapons aren't great. It's not like you're worried about multiple guys. You're worried about one guy, and that guy's beating you, finding the end zone, having all these catches. Like, look, I know Sauce hasn't had the greatest of years coverage-wise, though. He's still elite if you look at all the metrics. He's still a damn good cover corner. He's not a great run tackler. He's dropped the easy picks. We understand what he is as a player. But, man, like, if you're not going to have Sauce shadow in that game, why have him? We're going to pay this guy $30 million a year if they don't even utilize him properly? Like, that doesn't make any sense. That's not great resource allocation if you're not going to utilize what Gardner does at an elite level.
So you would admit Gardner's not having a good, like a year up to what his standards were the first 2 years, right?
Yep.
Okay, for Garrett Wilson, dropping that wide open ball, which led to an interception. Do you think he's having a year up to his standards, what he's had in the previous
No,
years?
I mean, Ryan, if you go through all the players we were counting on and say, have they lived up to expectations or have they been below it? Most of the players, probably below. DJ Reed probably has exceeded.
Yes.
Will McDonald obviously has been great. He's exceeded. But, like, that's not enough, man. This team was supposed to basically be inserting Aaron Rodgers into a lineup that already won 7 last year and seemingly improved along the margins in some key spots, and it just hasn't been that at all.
No, it hasn't. It hasn't. It's been extremely frustrating to watch. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if it's coaching. I don't know if it's, do you have the, like, are we overestimating the talent that's on this roster? I listen, I'm not a biggest fan of Chris Collinsworth, but something caught my eye, and I want to know if you thought about this, Jake, and if you heard it. He had said, Robert Saleh's defensive scheme is a little outdated. It's a scheme that the defensive line, they're going to spread you out. You're playing wide nines. You're playing guys all the way past those tackles. And a guy like Michael Clemens isn't built for this scheme, in my opinion. So you're already taking players that aren't built for this scheme, and you're forcing them in situations that aren't going to work out well for you. And you're already your depth of talent, especially inside. I mean, it's Quinnen Williams and no one else. The man's getting abused inside, and I feel bad for him because a lot of people are hating on him because he got the contract and he's not having the production he's had in previous years. But you go watch the film, the man's getting destroyed. He's getting double team, triple team. Like, teams know if I take care of Quinnen Williams, I can run the ball against this Jets team. And he made a great point also about how teams were attacking the Jets in previous years because of the quarterback play. I know that if we can play at least solid defense against a below average, one of the worst quarterback plays in Zach Wilson, Tim Boyle, you name it, we don't have to be as aggressive. We can be more aggressive on offense, I guess, and take our chances and attack the pass coverage, but we don't have to run the ball against this team. And that hasn't really been tested in previous years, the run defense. You're seeing the exposure right now. So there's the combination of, I think it's an outdated scheme. I don't think it's working right now. And I think you're seeing this defense being stretched to its limits, to the talent. And
they've also had more injuries the last, the first, 7 games of the year than they've had the last 2 years combined. Plus, look, I was killing Douglas for the Reddick stuff when it first happened, not getting a deal done. And, they could have had Clowney, whatever the case may be. But, no one could have even anticipated the holdout lasting as long as it has. Jermaine going down in week 2. So it's like a combination of bad luck, poor GMing, brutal injuries. It's everything, man. Why the defense is not as good as it once was.
We go back to the John Franklin Myers thing.
Another bad GMing decision. Yep.
It's probably one of Douglas's worst decisions. After he makes the trade for Hassan Reddick, everyone's pumped up because you thought, all right, now we have a real rotation on defensive line. You're rolling Quinnen and JFM in the middle, and now you got Jermaine Johnson and Reddick on the outside. Will McDonald can take that next step as a third down situational pass rusher, replacing Bryce Huff. And now you're going to cook. Now you're going to cook with this defense. The trade for John Franklin Myers, what Costello told me on Gangzone here, he said that upset the locker room. That was a move where a lot of the guys in the locker room were like, did we really just do that? And you didn't get much of a return for the guy. And you see what he's doing with that Denver Broncos defense, which, by the way, is a good defense now. We're seeing more and more. That Broncos defense is legit. Zach Allen, JFM. They obviously have Surtain, who's banged up, but they have a legit defense over there. So, yeah, I mean, that was a questionable move at best. And you took away the depth of this defensive line. And you're seeing guys like Quincy and Jermaine and Sherwood and even CJ, who I think is having a down year. These guys are just, they're being exposed. They have no chance. They really don't.
Brutal. Now, I want to get into some comments that Aaron Rodgers made yesterday during his weekly appearance on the McAfee Show. Obviously, much was made of the Jets seemingly coming out flat. Rodgers talked about the energy level. But I want to get into Rodgers talking about what needs to change as far as the Jet mindset goes. This was Rodgers yesterday.
In New York, good, bad, or indifferent, for the last long stretch, it's been win with defense. That's what it's been. We joke about being a defensive organization, but they've had a lot of defensive head coaches, the ones that you remember. And it's kind of been at times in spite of the offense. We saw last year a lot. Our defense hold them to 13 points and lose, 12 points and lose, 17 points and lose. And offensively, I think we need to just adjust that mindset instead of hey, let's go play well. It's, hey, let's win the game on offense. And I know it seems like a little thing or trivial, but mindset is everything. And Brick talks about heart, mind, and fist. Heart being why you play. You play for your teammates. You play for the love of the game. Fist is the violence part of it. It's, it's controlled violence, in a collision sport. But the mindset is so very important. And I think if we can start to think about things in that way, let's go win it on offense. Let's not hang around and wait for a defense to get us a stop or a big turnover or teams to have an impact play. Let's go win this game on offense and have that mindset of scoring every possession. And it starts this week on Wednesday.
What do you make of that, Ryan? I mean, are you buying, that mentality shift still being plausible for this team to salvage the year? I mean, they're 2-5. It's essentially a must win no matter what happens going forward on
Yes.
Sunday. If you can't beat New England, I mean, just the year's done. So how do you view what Rodgers said there?
Well, before I get into his comments, Jake, have you ever been less enthused? I mean, obviously with last year, the last week of the season, but have you ever been less enthused about a Jets Patriots game this Sunday?
It's amazing because, I mean, 29 days ago, it was one of the happiest moments of my life as a Jet fan over the last 15 years. To think they haven't won since. I left MetLife that night giddy, 2-1, and wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's so for me, like, yeah, they're going to win. Like, we all know. You can put it in the books. The Jets are going to beat the Patriots. The Patriots are the worst team in football, you could argue, with the Panthers. I don't care about Drake May. I don't care about that. Like, the Jets are going to dominate the Patriots. It'll be another great showing for Devontae and Garrett and Brees and Rodgers. They'll all have great stats, and we'll be like, all right, cool. I don't care. Like, I do not care about this Sunday's game because I think they're going to win, and I know they're going to win. That comment, though, it's about the offense going to win and that mentality. You've had how many chances in the last 4 weeks? You didn't count last week because you got blown out. The last three of the 4 weeks, you've had a chance as an offense to go down the field and win. And I heard excuses about Mike Williams not hugging the red line. I had the bad back shoulder play to Mike Williams against the Vikings. And then the Broncos, you can blame it on Greg Zuerlein because you did get him in a chance to win the game. I don't know, man. Like, you've had opportunity. Like, you've had the opportunity to go out there and have that mentality to go win. It's empty words, Jake. It's empty words. Like, I was so tuned out with Rodgers yesterday. Like, dude, I don't care what you say, man. Just go out there and win some freaking football games. That's all this franchise wants. That's all the fans want. That's what you want. That's what I want. I don't want to hear the words of mentality and attack and, what this defense has done in years past and what the offense has done in years past. Dude, we already know that. You're telling the diehard fan what we already know. You're repeating that to us. We don't need to be reminded. We've been stuck in mediocrity for 13 now going on 14 years. This is a team that's stuck in the middle, Jake. Like, they can win and run off because of the schedule, a bunch of wins. But when they end up with 9 wins and the key losses against the Steelers and the Broncos, and they have those tiebreakers over you in the AFC, and that's the reason you don't make the playoffs, we're going to come back to this and say you had chances to go win those games, Rodgers, and you ultimately failed in those situations. I don't know how else to cut it to you, man. Like, that's how I felt when I was listening to that.
Well, to me, it's like it's now or never, man. Like, and even if they beat the Patriots, because I do agree with you. Like, I don't know if they'll dominate them. Like, I'm not comfortable right now laying 7 points with the Jets just based on what I've seen. But I do think they'll win. Say they win, okay, great. Like, show me something against Houston. Yeah, maybe it's better that they play 3 days after the game on Sunday because they don't have any time to be like, we're back. No, like, go do it again, man. Go win. Get 10 days to reset. Handle your business. In theory, they're more talented. In theory, they should be able to beat the Cardinals and then the Colts. Rattle off 4 in a row and be like, okay, we're 6-5 at our bye. Chance to get healthy, reset. Show us. Like, that's it, man. You beat New England, that does nothing for me. I need them to win the next 2, and I could start to be like, okay, what am I seeing? Are we going to see something here? Because as down as I am right now, and everyone's talking about who the next coach is going to be, GM, what quarterback. I can't do draft talk, Ryan, on October 23rd, man. There's 10 games left in the season. I can't even think about, like, the future of the franchise when it's like this year we're supposed to be the year at the bare minimum they make the playoffs. No one's saying Super Bowl, but at the bare minimum, we're going to have a winning season, a fun year, give this fan base something that's been starving, and they're 2-5. Like, I can't do the future and draft talk on October 23rd.
No, I can't. And what's so frustrating, besides just the talent and they're underperforming, I go back to the coaching and the scheme. Like, where are the answers here, Jake? Like, where is, I've heard so much about the tight ends coach. Where's the tight end involvement in this offense? You've hired a new running backs coach. You've hired a new wide receiver coach. Garrett Wilson's take a step back. It's just, I don't know. I think that we depended way too much on the players here. And maybe that was a misstep by fans, because I am trying to figure out, like, where this is all going wrong. The coaching clearly has the wrong messaging to this group, and they're not getting them fired up to start these games. But also, it's the inopportune moments of, I am sick and tired of watching this offense play behind the sticks. How are you correcting these things? Are you going to hold guys accountable like a Tyron Smith and say, listen, man, you're not playing up to par right now. How can we get you to play better? Do we need to sit you? Are you banged up too much? Jake, have you ever seen an offensive tackle play with a rib guard before? I've never seen that before in my life. On Sunday, Tyron Smith was playing with a rib guard. You see quarterbacks play with that.
Well, I think he's hurt, Ryan. I agree with you because, he's also not talking to the media, if you've noticed, too. Like, he hasn't been made available. He's basically not, like, he doesn't want to be asked questions about his health. I think it's got to be Fashanu time at left tackle. What do you have to lose? You took him 11th overall, and you play 2 games coming up in 4 days. So it's like, you might as well put Olu out there, then put him out there against the Texans. You imagine Tyron Smith trying to block Will Anderson or Danielle Hunter? Like, that's a real problem on Thursday night at the MetLife, with the turf being what it is. Like, I'd get Olu out there, man. Tyron looks like a guy who's either hurt or he's shot or both.
Right. Like, there's no more trades happening, Jake, in my opinion. Like, there's no defensive tackle you're going to get to stop the run. You got Hassan Reddick in the building now. Let's see what he does. The answers have to come within. So it's on the coaching staff now to figure out how do we best position ourselves moving forward, because it's not working. Like, you can't fool us as fans. You can't say it's only a couple plays. It's not working right now. You could see it on the field. You got to adjust, though. It's the left tackle. How do we adjust that position? How do we get the tight ends more involved in this game? How do we get Breece Hall in space more? Because that was the other thing Chris Collinsworth said that actually really caught my eye and at my ear again, too. He said he's a really great receiver. I have not been impressed with Breece Hall as a running back this year. He's running into a lot of guys. It feels like he's pressing to find that hole. I know he's a home run hitter, and that's his style of running, and he's elite when it comes to being in space. But tell me you weren't disappointed against the Bills when he was going down the sideline and he didn't break a tackle for the touchdown. You're like, that's a play Breece Hall should be making as a touchdown. And I just think as the running game, like I've heard Ulbrich say it a lot too, and it is true. It does alleviate the pressure off Rodgers, and it does help the pass game. They're just not running the ball well at all right now. And I wonder if we can maybe stop giving Breece Hall the first and second down carries and start going to Braylon Allen more. You drafted him. He's looked good. Give him the opportunities. That's to me is how you answer within. Start shifting the lineups. Start giving guys more opportunities that haven't been getting them so far this year, and see if it works, because you need to shake this up. And that's where I would be going if I were looking at this Jets team right now.
Yeah, I think 3 changes you can immediately make. One of them is what you just said, right? Braylon Allen, getting some of the carries on first and second down, line up Breece in the slot, use him creatively on third down packages. I mean, he's awesome as a receiver. No one can deny that. He had, it's second most yards from scrimmage last year among running backs behind Christian McCaffrey a season ago. Second thing you could do is something we mentioned already, Olu Fashanu, put him at left tackle. And then the third thing you could do is get a new kicker. I mean, how many times is Greg Zuerlein going to impact games for this team that they're losing? People bring up the fact, it drives me nuts. Well, Zach Wilson last year had a better record at this time than Aaron Rodgers does now. Yeah, because the Jet defense a year ago was way better, and Greg Zuerlein didn't miss. How many games did Greg win last year for them?
There's something going on with the Greg Zuerlein thing. I wonder if he's hurt, but also at the same time, I think he has the yips too. I asked Kaz about this because I said, they tried out a bunch of kickers last week. Well, what's going on with the Jets kicker situation? He was like, I don't know. Like they were surprised and happy with what they got from Zuerlein last year. He won you some games, and they even in training camp saw Austin Seibert outplay him. Like he was kicking and nailing like 50-yard field goals. But apparently the Jets front office was quote unquote nervous to cut Zuerlein and then bring on Seibert. And then when you're in that situation, like in the Broncos game, and Seibert goes out there and misses, people are going to be crying, you should have kept Greg Zuerlein. Why didn't you keep Greg Zuerlein? Like that was a guy who was in your house. Like you had him last year. So I get it. It's like you shouldn't be, you shouldn't be this worried about a kicking situation, but they are. Like the dude can't hit. The guy cannot hit any.
This only happens to the Jets, though. This is what I mean too. Yes. Like obviously, but this is like why people feel like there's a curse over the franchise. This guy couldn't miss for 2 years. Now he can't hit anything. It's directly led to at least one, if not 2 losses you could attribute it to. Tyron Smith was a second-team All-Pro last year. Ugh. You watch the film, he was still elite. The questions were not ability, it was durability. Hasn't missed a game yet, but he looks like Mekhi Becton out there with the same number. Like, it's insane how this happens. He comes to the Jets, and he immediately is a shot player. Maybe there's diminished returns. He's not as good. But if he was just average, that'd be a huge upgrade from what they had the last few years. And he's terrible.
There's a reason why not many teams were in on him, if any, besides the Jets.
How did they know, though? Because when we all watched the film, and I had film experts who do this for a living break it down, he was elite last year.
I don't know. I don't know if the Jets medical department's like, yep, let's just go with the injury. Like, I think a lot of teams are probably scared off. I'm going to guess he has a back injury because that's why you're wearing the rib guard.
Yep.
And my assessment is the Jets were like, we're all in. Aaron wants Tyron. He thinks he's a good enough left tackle to protect his blind side. And, it's just for me, it's not working. Like you said, but you drafted a guy in Olu. He was one of the highest rated draft prospects as an offensive lineman this past year. See what you got, man. Like, he's not a right tackle. He's played his entire life at left tackle. Let him be a left tackle and let him go out there and eat. You got a pretty easy opponent in the Patriots to go defend, to go block against. Let him get used to it, get some snaps. It's nothing against Tyron. He's a pure incentive-laden deal. That's all it is. There's not much guarantees there unless he hits all those incentives. That's why he's out there trying to force himself to play all these games because he needs to. There's a lot more on the offense that we could talk about. The other thing and you brought up the kicking. How strange has the special teams been this year for the Jets? A team that's been actually good at special teams in years past. It feels like the return game has been a complete
nothing.
Like,
I can
zero.
think of one good punt return Gibson had. It was the game I was at in London where it set up the touchdown at the end of the first half to Lazard. Other than that, they get nothing on punt returns. They get absolutely nothing on kick returns. Yet they drafted Malachi Corley and couldn't wait to tell everyone how he was our 4th-rated receiver on our board. And look what he does after the catch. And it's like, okay, well, when I watch these kickoffs, Ryan, it looks like a long run play to me. Why not put Corley back there and see if he could provide a spark?
They're not even kicking to Gibson anymore. All the teams are kicking to Davis because they know they don't want Gibson to even get the ball in his hands. So they figured it out. And now this is a theme I've told Frankie too. It's about adjustments. The football is a game of adjustments. How are you going to adjust to what the other team is doing? Because they're going to try to adjust and figure you out as well. Teams have figured you out on special teams. I'm not going to kick to Gibson because I know he can be special with the ball in his hands. I'll kick it to the guy Davis, who probably isn't really a good kick returner. So how do you adjust? Bring in a guy like Malachi Corley. Can we get him active? Can we get him in the game? Because all I see is a bunch of receivers out there that are running the same routes that aren't getting it done for you in the pass game, who aren't breaking many tackles, who aren't special after the catch. Isn't that what you drafted Malachi Corley for, to be your mini quote-unquote Deebo Samuel in this offense? Why isn't he active? And why aren't you getting him involved in the return game? Gibson's not giving you anything anymore since you pretty much phased him out of the pass game. So again, how do you adjust? What am I doing with the defensive line situation? Am I getting Michael Clemens' ass off the field? Because that guy is a liability. Am I getting him off the field? Am I cutting Greg Zuerlein? Am I getting Tyron Smith off the field? These are questions that the Jets front office and the staff have to be asking themselves. We have gotten this wrong to start the first 7 games. How are we going to adjust, fix, turn, and point ourselves in the right direction and start rolling off some games? Because if you keep running the same thing out there, it's the definition of insanity. And us as fans, we've seen it before. It's the same old Jets. That's what it is. That's how I feel. When Rodgers said before the season, if the Jets win, we're the greatest thing ever. If we lose, we're the same old Jets. Well, guess what? You're the same old Jets right now, man, and it's pissing us off.
And there's anger now, but soon there's apathy. I've been doing this now 4 years on YouTube. You see the views just like when there's chaos, it's up, win or lose. But then that wears off. Teams not playing any meaningful games down the stretch. People check out. That's what happens here. And they're approaching that. And I do think it's not just like approaching that for, just this season and people come back. I think they're doing irreparable damage to this fan base because this was 2 years of waiting for this quarterback with this team. And for them to be 2-5, even if you didn't think the Jets were a Super Bowl team, you never could have imagined they would start 2-5 after they won 7 games last year with historically poor quarterback play. It's insane.
So, you've seen the stats, right, about Rodgers with the 10 touchdowns now and like where he's at with the Jets in terms of quarterback because of how bad it's been and abysmal quarterback play for our franchise's history.
Yep.
He's on pace, I believe, for 24 touchdown passes, which would mark him in top 10 all time, which is insane to even think about. I've alluded to it, but I do want to talk about Aaron Rodgers, right? So there's a couple things that are alarming. What's one thing for you, Jake, when you're watching this Jets offense that's lacking besides the run game in the pass game? What's been lacking?
Chances downfield.
Exactly. The explosives. You haven't seen the explosive plays. That's something that keeps defenses honest. So you're seeing how teams are playing the Jets defensively now. They're playing cover 2 shell, and they're going to keep everything in front of them because they know Rodgers is going to pick you off from 15 yards or back, and he's going to keep you in the short intermediate passing. You hope Devontae can help that, but he's not a burner. He's not going to kill you downfield. The Jets don't have a burner. Let's
you
be
know
real.
who is, though? At least a deep ball guy, Mike Williams. But they don't want to. Like, have they thrown 1-9 route to Mike, who's a guy who averages in his career like 16 or 17 yards per catch?
No, but they want to trade him now. They want to trade him.
Insane.
It's crazy. It is crazy. Like, I think they need to keep Mike Williams because he's an upgrade over Allen Lazard. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I know Lazard's having a nice season, but the dude's also leading the league in drops. I don't need to see him on the field anymore. He could be your fourth wide receiver. If I'm running 3 wide receiver packages with Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, and Davante Adams working out a slot, that's a good offense. That's plenty of weapons for Aaron Rodgers to work with. But the part that I'm trying to discuss with Aaron Rodgers and the lack of explosives, Jake, do you know his stats of 15 yards or more down the field, what he is right now as a quarterback?
No.
Right now, he has completed 18 of 51 passes attempted 15 yards more down the field. 18 of 51. He has a 35% completion percentage, 3 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. That's one of the worst in the NFL, if not the worst in the NFL when it comes to 15 yards or more down the field. You're clearly not getting the quarterback play that you were promised when Aaron Rodgers was traded for. And that makes me question, is there something going on there with Aaron? I think
he's banged up too. I think that's why
he's banged up. He's got happy feet in the pocket. His footwork is sloppy.
Yep.
And he's making bad decisions downfield because you've seen the interceptions happen.
He doesn't trust the line, doesn't trust a lot of the receivers. And I really think it goes back to the Denver game, right? Because think about how mobile he looked against New England. It was his coming out party. The off-script plays were there. That's Aaron Rodgers. We haven't seen that guy since because he's taken an absolute beating because this team failed to protect him. And now they're in a spot where you need him to play better because the team around him is not as good as we thought. But I don't know if he's capable of playing that much better given the state of affairs with how he is, his body, his age, and just poor coaching too, man. I mean, this team is so poorly coached.
Yeah, no, like, listen, I know you're dealing with a new offensive coordinator, but I think this offensive coordinator, this is the other thing. Oh, damn, I'm all over the place. I'm sorry, Jake. Like, there's so many things with this team that just drive me crazy. Did you notice how great, like not great, but like how much more improved the offense was against the Bills? There was so much more motion. Guys were getting in space. They were getting Breece Hall in space. The run game was opening up lanes. They looked good. They looked good on offense. Like they truly did. Besides the mistakes they had, they looked good in the penalties. Besides the penalties, it felt more stagnant like the previous weeks with Nathaniel Hackett against the Steelers. I didn't see much motion. I didn't see much creativity. And I'm wondering, with Davante Adams back in the fold, is Aaron going back to what he was from week 1 to weeks 5, where it was a stagnant offense? I'm going to try and read the defense, and I'm going to try and pick you apart. Instead of what was going on against the Bills, where let's get Breece in motion, let's get guys in motion. I got Garrett Wilson coming out of the backfield. I'm making easy touches for these guys. That was the offense that you were looking for, and like, okay, that has potential. I did not like what I saw for most of that game against the Steelers. And again, the egregious play from Rodgers before the halftime, you had the chance to step on their throat. Whether it was a field goal or touchdown, they were ready to boo Russell Wilson off the field. And you throw the most inopportune interception, which led to points for the Steelers, and all the momentum went back into Pittsburgh, and that was it. Good night, Irene.
But they're soft, right? Because that shouldn't be the play that like, oh, you're up 15-13 at the half, but it felt like you're down, and it's like, oh, we stink. Woe is me. And that's what the energy problem was that Rodgers was referring to. And then what's crazy is, we did a film breakdown on my show yesterday with Andrew Fialco. The play before the brutal Garrett drop, which basically was a pick six, that not on Rodgers, threw a great ball there, right? He still gives you those glimpses of like, he's really good. It's like the play before, he had Garrett open and he missed him. And that could have been a huge play. And you could tell Garrett was ticked that he didn't get the ball, and it probably affected him on the next play. So it's like, even when Rodgers is good, the players around him aren't elevating him the way we thought. And that was the whole premise of the year, that you didn't need MVP Rodgers. You needed a guy to take care of the ball, which there's been too many interceptions. And you needed the guy to, basically just play competent football. And at times he's done that. Like, I thought he was pretty good against Buffalo, but they failed in the red zone. You had the Tyrants withhold that negated the touchdown. Zerline missed 2. It's like every game, it's a new way for this team to lose. It's never typically the same thing. Sometimes there's some patterns, but for the most part, there's like a new way they find a way to lose. Like this game in Pittsburgh was, they actually played a pretty good first half and then blow it, and then they somehow get boat raced and allow 31 unanswered. That's what makes this year the most frustrating year I've been a fan of this team.
Yeah, no, I agree, Jake. It's just there's a lot of plays that leave you going like, man, where I said this, where's Rodgers going? Where are you going with the ball, man? Because like he's missed some dudes. The first play of the game against Steelers, that's your bread and butter with Davante, and you're throwing it way away from him, and Devontae's stretching fully to make the play. It's like, oh boy, this is what we're going for right now. Like, there's something off. I don't know what it is. Like, I've said this. He is statistically on pace to have his worst season of his career. This is worse than 2022 when he's playing with a broken thumb. Like, this is worse.
Well, we got some breaking news, Ryan. You ready for this?
Oh, yeah, here we go.
Aaron Rodgers listed with knee, ankle, and hamstring injuries and will be limited today. It's only a walkthrough. Hamstring, quote, flared up versus Pittsburgh, according to Jeff Oberk, who says it may have compromised Rodgers' mobility on a few plays in which he could have scrambled. I mean, I almost wonder this. If he's this banged up, wouldn't it make sense to play Tyrod this week against a bad Patriots team, and then Rodgers can get healthy for that must-win, what feels like a must-win against the Texans? I know you don't want to gamble with losing to New England, but, like, Tyrod Taylor should be able to beat the New England Patriots now.
He should, but I don't know if I want to mess with this now. I mean, you brought Devontae Adams in. Like, how's that going to work? How's the relationship with Garrett going to go? Like, is he going to be on page with these guys?
It's one game, though, man. I feel like this is why you have Tyrod, right? Like, you knew you had a 40-year-old quarterback. It's the Jets' fault why he's hurt. He's taking a beating. Like, don't you almost want to, like, protect Rodgers for the game and hope he can get healthy? Because then what if he takes a couple of brutal hits against New England and then you're playing Thursday night? Tyrod might have to start that game, and you'd rather him start the Sunday game than the Thursday game against the Texans.
It's not a bad thought, Jake, but the only thing I'm worried about, though, is like, I mean, listen, they beat the Patriots in week 18 last year with who at quarterback? Trevor
Siemian.
Trevor Siemian. Like, if you could beat the Patriots with Trevor Siemian, I would imagine you could beat them with Tyrod Taylor. Yeah, I mean, listen, if they want to go that route, I would understand it. But again, like, this is the same old Jets, man. Like, he's got both knees now. I see the injury from Connor Hughes. He's got both knees. He's dealing with the ankle, the hamstring. It's like, I don't know, man. I don't know anymore. Like, they're making me check out, which is driving me nuts. Like, I said to Frankie, I go, I am going to watch these games, not as a fan, but more of as a, let's see how this team does. And just, I'm going to be like this. Okay. They threw a touchdown. Cool. How are you going to do this against the Texans now? Like, how are you carrying this over? Because this is what this team, they just do. They take the momentum out of our sails and they just go, nope, you're going to stay down here. You're going to stay down here in mediocrity. 14 freaking years, dude. 14 years.
And no end in sight. No end in sight. If they don't do it this year, like, it's going to get better next year with maybe a new coach, new quarterback, like, it's crazy, man. I mean, but I'll say this. If there was a week to sit Rodgers to get him healthy, this is the week. You're playing a brutal team that you already kicked the crap out of the last time. You're playing a team that you should be able to run the ball against, right? I mean, their own head coach called them soft last week, so this should be a monster Brees game like what we saw, the last time they were in Foxborough in Belichick's last game. Like, you should be able to win this game with Tyrod Taylor, man. Like, I would seriously consider sitting Rodgers. And Oberk already said that he's playing Sunday, so it's not going to happen. He said it's not going to impact his ability, but we're talking about hamstring and ankle injuries to a 40-year-old quarterback who's taking a beating, and then you got to go play 3 days after this game. Like, this would be the game. If they could get up early, you get Rodgers out of there and let him rest. Like, do not have him play 4 quarters in this game. The Jets need to come out, as Rodgers talked about in the clips we played earlier in the show, with purpose. Get a lead on a bad team, put them away like Jacksonville did, and get Rodgers out of this game because he's going to play. He's Aaron Rodgers, but, like, this would be the week you sit him for Tyrod and get him healthy.
Well said, Jake. Well said. I just the one thing I do want to ask you too, and I wanted to get your opinion on this. So we traded for Aaron Rodgers 2 years ago. Last year we were robbed because of 4 plays in the Achilles injury. This is year 2 with Rodgers. I think a lot of narrative when the Jets made that trade, and I want to know if you thought this too. We're probably getting one good year out of Rodgers, right? Like, that first year was going to be last year was going to be like the year for Rodgers. Like, he broke his thumb in 2022. That's why a year was down. Like, he was dealing with injuries, new receivers, all that. 2023 was going to be the year with the Jets. It's like, you're going to get great quarterback play, hopefully, from him. It may not be MVP, but it'll be like 85% of Rodgers. You're now dealing with 2 years later now, and you're seeing, I think, a lot of age. You're seeing a lot of, it looks like I am not nervous, but just not sure of this offense and where I'm going with this ball sometimes. And you're seeing a lot of misses and plays that just drive you crazy. I just wonder if we're now at that point with Rodgers that you saw with Tom Brady in his final year with the Buccaneers, where it's like, Father Time catches up to all of us, and I just don't know if it's in him right now to be able to lead this team to the playoffs. And that's what we're seeing out there, man.
Yeah, I mean, look, like he says he wanted to play beyond this year. He said all the right things yesterday, but it's like if he's just this banged up now, what is he like in early January when the season's over? Would he retire? Would he walk away? Like, it's just that's what happens when you start 2-5. Like, we don't know who the GM is beyond this year. We don't know who the coach is beyond this year. I thought Rodgers would be here next year, but no one anticipated the Jets maybe going 6-11 or 7-10. You know, like it's crazy, man. Some other injury notes from Obrick, who just spoke: AVT ankle, Lecky Fotu knee, Ashton Davis concussion, Tony Adams hamstring, not practicing today. There is some good news though. DJ Reed, if there were an actual practice and it wasn't a walkthrough, he'd be out there today. So getting him back is huge because honestly, it's more so to me about Reed's leadership and toughness, man. Yeah. He gives that secondary an edge. I love Sauce, but Sauce is quiet. He's not like he's not a vocal guy. Reed plays like I'm a UDFA. I'm a 5'9" corner. Like nothing was handed to me. Like I've had to earn it all. Like that mentality he brings to the defense. They need him back. I know New England stinks, but still, you want as many good players as possible out there, especially if Rodgers is banged up now. I mean, I would really consider starting Tyrod this week. Like this to me would be. And I guess Obrick doesn't want to jeopardize, like, what if we lose? Like, I get it, but it's like, man, they really got to protect Aaron Rodgers this week. This is going to be bad. If he takes any hits and then they got to play Thursday, good Lord.
So I saw Michael Carter is limited too, which that'd be awesome if you can get him back this week too. Yep. And Obrick said that Reddick is potentially going to be playing this Sunday, so that'd be something to see.
Jeff Obrick anticipates Hassan Reddick playing this weekend. Okay.
Anticipates. There you go. We'll see. We'll see Hassan out there. Jake, I do want to ask you this. So if the Jets win Sunday, what is your mentality heading into Monday at 3-5 now?
It depends how they look, right? And look, I've said it. They got to win at least 2 in a row before I start to like take them seriously again, because like I expect them to beat New England. They better beat the Texans, or it's like, okay, like they got to go on a winning streak. Like this idea that like, oh, the schedule is easy. Great. Like the schedule was easy at the beginning of the year too, and they blew all these games. So I don't know, man. I expect them to win. If they win and Rodgers somehow looks great like he did, like I'll start to be like, all right, like, let's see what they do against Houston. They did beat the Texans last year. It's a short week. They're home. That favors the home. Like I'll start to like try and give some hope, but it's tough to sit here and truthfully really be like bought back in. I got to see it, man. We got to see it over more than just a 1-game sample size against a Patriots team that's probably going to end up with 3 or 4 wins at the most this year.
I'm sick and tired of one thing too. The adversity comments from everyone. I see Obrick talking about adversity again right now. It's like, dude, we're Jets fans. We've been dealing with adversity our entire freaking lives watching this franchise. Like how we step and use the adversity and step in the right direction. You've had 4 straight freaking weeks to change this direction and narrative into the right and steer it the right way. After that Broncos game, you should have been all in and like, how do we fix this? Because that was ugly. And then you have the Vikings disaster. And now it's snowballed. It's snowballed on you. It's no longer you're facing adversity. This entire season has snowballed onto all of you. And the fact that we don't even talk about enough, Jake, they fired a head coach. They traded for a star wide receiver. They changed offensive coordinators. They brought in the longest holdout in the NFL and Hassan Reddick back. But we are more focused on just win the freaking football game. That's all we care about.
That's it. You know, one Jets drive could tweet out the slow-mo highlights again. Got to win games, man. Got to win games. You're watching this live right now. Click that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. You can check out Ryan's awesome podcast, Gangs All Here, with the New York Post. Him and Brian Costello have you covered during the week. Our good friend of the show, Frankie V from U Stadium. Him and Ryan do a post-game show after every game, so check that out, Jet fans. If you're seeking more content, a lot of love from the Asmaniacs for you, Ryan. Peter Castro says, this guy's great. Sign Ryan up. Truthful, smart. D writes in, man, you got to have Ryan on more. He's not sugarcoating it. I like this guy. And Frankie V's in the house. He says, bring the Jets to Queens. Change the energy. I mean, don't get me started on MetLife, man.
Oh, God. Oh, man. If we could bring in Queens, man, I'd have season tickets in a heartbeat. I live in Long Island, Jake, and it's a nightmare to get to MetLife. I don't even bother. I'm like, I can't. It's
brutal, dude. That's where I grew up. That's where I grew up. It's also like, it's not like it's a great stadium experience. Like the tailgating's fun because the fan base is awesome, but like the actual stadium is a giant air conditioning unit.
It's a giant central air unit. That's what I call it. It's the Giants Central Air Unit.
Brutal. And 2 NFL teams with the New York market share a stadium that bland, that boring.
And they won't even update it. Like,
no.
At least you see Hard Rock tries to update their things in Miami. Like, they built the club underneath the stadium, and they updated their surround sound and everything. They don't do anything with this team, man. And now we got Fireman Ed making noise. It's like, dude, I don't care about you, man. Like, I don't care about you.
I love Ed, man. You guys, I will say, not you, obviously, but the headline writer at the Post, they did my guy dirty, dude. He was just saying they weren't showing him in stadium after like the Garrett Wilson touchdown to lead the chant. Him and the other 2 guys, Scott and Jetman, that do the chant in unison with him. And then like when the Jets are on defense, they usually show those guys leading like the universal defense chants, and the Jets can't even do that right. Like, why change the one thing fans enjoy? Like, Ed and those people get the crowd fired up, and they screw that up too with this franchise. It's unreal.
I know you don't want to talk about coaching change because I don't think it's worth the discussion either. Where are we going with this franchise? Like, if the season, like, again, you see if it's like 8 or 9 win season, right? And they're going to miss the playoffs. Like, that's what's it's aiming to go. Let's see where Ulbrich steers the ship here. But 8 or 9 win season, you miss the playoffs by 1 or 2 games because you blew these games early in the season, and you're going to pay for it. Where does Woody go with this thing? That's the ultimate question here, because I know there's still a season in front of us. Again, I'm losing hope. I told Frankie after the Steelers game, I think it's over. I don't think they have a chance of making the playoffs, to be honest with you. I don't know, man. That's the big question. Where the hell we go from here?
Yeah. It's impossible to ask or answer right now because we got to see how it looks down the stretch. Like wins obviously are part of it, but like records could be misleading. Like Adam Gase's first year, they started 1-7. Then they put together a 6-2 bogus second half against bad teams, and they finished 7-9, and it's like, whoa, but it's like, we knew that team sucked. Yeah. And so I think you got to see how it plays out. I don't know how you could bring Joe Douglas back, though, unless they somehow made the playoffs. I don't know how you could justify a GM getting a contract extension, likely hiring another coach, when right now he's 29-61. Did they go 8-9? I'd do the math, what that record would be. You're going to bring that guy back for another
His first round pick played 2 games. His third round pick hasn't played. Yeah, it's not good, man. It's not good. It's just, go out there, beat New England, beat him like a drum, and then see what happens on Halloween night. That's when the goose and maybe the goblins and ghosts come out from MetLife, and they can exercise the demons. Exercise the demons against them. You know what I mean?
There's been the last 4 years a 2-5 team that's made the playoffs each year. So look, until like they're done, like you hope they win Sunday and it maybe could light a spark or whatever. Like Rodgers has done this before. It's a different version of the Aaron Rodgers that is now dealing with a hamstring, both ankles, and the injury, but you get the point. Some super chats here, but first let's give a shout out to King and Dreams. He's supporting the show with a 5-spot of channel membership.
Let's not drop the challenge flag.
Here we go. JB44, Staten Island Joe, Kicking It with Chaos, Ferris, Andy Andy, all receiving a channel membership. Welcome. If you want to gift the membership, it's a great way to support the show, or become an Asmaniac yourself by hitting the join button. All right, more super chats here from the Asmaniacs. King and Dreams writes in, Jets need to stand on effing business. I mean, they can't beat New England. Fold up shop, man. That's it. Fold up shop. Like, come on. K&D says, bring the Jets to Brooklyn. Is there a spot to put them in Brooklyn?
Ooh, listen. No, I don't think so.
Where are you putting them?
No.
Who's Their Daddy says, the season is a bad version of whack-a-mole. I mean, it's hell. That's how I would describe it.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
Australia Jet fan wrote in, Rodgers has ankle, knee, now hamstring, which is why he had limited motion and off throws for Steelers. You got to have balls to play Tyrod. Look, I would play Tyrod this week if that was something that is like a real possibility. I just know they're not going to sit Aaron Rodgers. Like he's gonna play. But if they get up in this game, he should be taken out, and they should play Tyrod, because then you're just trying to run the ball and get out of there without Rodgers taking hits. I mean, once again, though, I keep going back to this. If there was ever a game to sit Rodgers for his health, it's this one. You're a 7-point favorite. You still would be a big favorite with Tyrod. This is why Tyrod's here. We all agreed he was the best backup option they could have brought that was realistic. They got it. It's like, I don't get it. You play Tyrod, then Rodgers has ample time to be healthy for a very good Houston team that has an elite pass rush. He plays Sunday. Even if you win, he maybe takes a couple hits. Bodies doesn't recover as quickly at age 40. Has to go play a Thursday night game with a pass rush that has Will Anderson Jr. on it and Daniel Hunter on it. Like, that to me would be a huge risk. And knowing the Jets, they're not going to listen to a thing I say, and they're going to play Aaron Rodgers, and now we pray.
Now we pray. Aaron Rodgers, yeah, man. I want to see this offense take that next step and actually just be able to control from start to finish. Like, I don't want to see any more opening drive starts of just false start, holding. Now we're playing behind the sticks. Miss pass. Allen Lazard drop on 3rd and short. Like, I don't want to see that anymore. Go out there, dominate from the start, and just be a good football team that we all hope you are. You have the talent. I question the coaching. I question the play calling. I question some of the decision-making from Aaron Rodgers, but there is no reason why you cannot go out there Sunday and dominate from the opening whistle.
Yep.
And just put a whooping on this Patriots team. Take the will out of them. The last thing I need to see, though, is them letting Drake May run roughshod all over them, because that's going to be scary. That's something that will actually concern me if that kid actually starts to destroy and pick apart this defense.
I can't handle that. Kick a Dreams Road. I'm from Brooklyn. I'm talking bleep. LOL. Look, if there's room in Brooklyn, I'd prefer that than MetLife. Jeez.
Yes, easily. But tell me where we're knocking down some buildings in Brooklyn. We're building a stadium.
Peter Castro in the house. Ryan, how about Brian Flores? Speaking of Brooklyn, Brian Flores, I believe, is from Brooklyn. Would you be interested in Brian Flores as a coaching candidate?
Rex hates Brian Flores, and I worked with Rex for 7 years at ESPN.
Rex Ryan hates Flores?
Oh, yeah, he can't stand Brian Flores.
Really?
He thinks he does one of the most cockamamie schemes ever. The thing I have with Brian Flores, I like that he came out and he admitted how wrong he was with the Tua situation and how he handled it, because I think a lot of people were on Tua's ass like, you know, you're soft, you can't deal with hard coaching and all that. And Flores came out and is like, you know, I admit that I probably could have handled that situation better and been a better head coach. He's he's still a heck of a coach, and like he gets his defenses playing, but also at the same time, he's ultra aggressive and his pass defense, and he leaves guys on islands out there, and it gets ugly. Like you saw it against the Detroit. His defense, they gave up a lot of yards. They give up a lot of plays. So I mean, listen, Brian Flores, there's better candidates out there, but yeah, I wouldn't be mad with Brian Flores at all. But also, Jake, we're sick and tired of watching defensive coordinators as head coaches, man.
That's my thing. But I will say, like, I'm a Mike Vrabel guy, and he's, you know, a guy with a defensive background. It's tough. To me, though, Ryan, they really have two options when you talk about the coach going forward. It either has to be someone who has a pedigree, like a Vrabel, Flores to a lesser extent. If the Browns were dumb enough to fire Stefanski, that'd be my guy because he's an offensive guy.
Yes, I would pay him whatever he wanted.
Or it has to be, if they're going to go the first-time head coaching route, it has to be an offensive coordinator that's being promoted to be a head coach. Like, obviously, Ben Johnson would be the goal. I don't know why he
come here, though.
Exactly.
Why would he come
But, like,
here?
that's what I'm saying. Like, you can't sell me on, well, we're going to hire the defensive coordinator again. Like, no. It's either an established coach because you do believe in the talent on this team. With better coaching, you think you could kind of refine the roster and still be, you know, a competing for a playoff spot. Or it has to be an offensive guy, because the first-time coordinator stuff can't happen. The one time they tried to hire an offensive guy was Adam Gase. That doesn't count. Like, come on, man.
Thanks, Peyton Manning. Really appreciate that one again.
Yeah, geez. Christopher Johnson going up there being like, he's coaching football to where it's going.
I swear they've made every wrong move as a franchise the last like decade plus. And that's why, like, people are like, it's like impossible for you to miss the playoffs in over a decade plus. No, it's not. Not if you're paying attention to what's going on at One Jets Drive. I was hard on Woody on Sunday, and I think I should be hard on him again. I listen. The comments he made after firing Saleh were like, I think I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for 20 years. Dude, you don't know. You don't know anything about running this franchise. Like,
thinking is overrated.
Thinking is overrated. Dude, are you for real? Like, let the football people run the football part of this team. He listens to Jaime too much, because I think Jaime's in his ear a lot about these decisions too. Saleh is a well-respected man, and he's a nice guy. You took 2 minutes. Was it 2 or 3 minutes, right? That's it. We're moving in a different direction. Pack your bags, go. Like, that's it. That's all you're going to have for this guy. This man thought he was going in this year for all-in win it this year, and you're going to let him ride it out with Aaron Rodgers. You didn't even give him that opportunity, but you just give him 3 minutes of your time and say, see ya, we're going in a different direction. And then the guy, Ulbrich, that you decided to give the opportunity to be head coach, you wanted him gone the first year. You wanted him gone because the defense was worse than the NFL. But because Kyle Shanahan called up and said, hey, I want to interview Ulbrich and see if he wants to be my defensive coordinator over here in San Francisco. Whoa, we got to keep this guy. Kyle Shanahan wants him. It's a joke. It is a joke what Woody is doing with this franchise. What does Joe Douglas do anymore? That's my other question, too, because isn't Woody the one that got the Hassan Reddick deal done, right? Like, you see Rappaport and Schefter go, Woody was well in those discussions about the reason why Hassan was back in the building. Listen, Hassan Reddick had a deadline. If he waited any longer, his contract was going to toll, and then he would have been stuck in the same situation next year with the Jets. So, like, deadline spur actions, I don't know. I'm going on a tangent. I'm sorry, Jake. It's frustrating, man. They've made every wrong decision, from Peyton Manning telling them to hire Adam Gase, Mike McCagnon drafting, and then Adam Gase firing him, then bringing in Joe Douglas midseason, Joe Douglas firing Adam Gase, and then bringing in Saleh when he could have had other coordinators or other coaches. I mean, drafting Zach Wilson. It's just been an absolute unmitigated disaster for over a decade. And we're seeing it again because we gave the keys to the franchise to the 40-year-old quarterback who just isn't playing up to his standards. Plain and simple. Injuries be damned. Injuries are an excuse. Go out there and win a freaking football game, man. You've had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity against the Broncos, against the Vikings, against the Bills. And you failed time after time after time in those 3 situations. And those 3 games, which has led to a 4-game losing streak, has unraveled the entire season. We've seen a coach get fired, your best buddy who you brought in and forced the team to hire that they didn't even want to hire, and they wanted to hire Arthur Smith in the offseason. He's now no longer doing anything. He's wearing a headset doing this. Good job, guys. You've fired your head coach because you didn't get along with him and you didn't like how the team was starting, and the team looked unprepared. And I hated how the team looked in the second half, because if you look at the second half stats, they are ugly for this Jets team, both offensively and defensively. Opposing coaches are running circles around this coaching staff, people. Do not be fooled. It is a joke when it comes to the adjustments at halftime, what this team makes. Rodgers even hinted at it, if you listen to his comments after the game, when he said, I didn't like the attitude that we had at halftime. So even he's hinting at this team does not know how to make halftime adjustments, and it's been a constant theme for years with them. And now we're stuck in this situation. And now you're stuck in this situation, man. You brought in his best friend when you were 2-4. You brought in the best friend wide receiver. You traded a high draft pick for him, and you brought him in. And now Garrett Wilson slides down in targets. He slides down in the offense to give Devontae Adams all the room he needs to run. And now you brought in Hassan Reddick after you're already 2-5. Yeah, thanks, man. Is he going to help the run defense too, Jake?
Other than that, Mrs. Lincoln, how was the play? I mean, and you know what's crazy? They're 7 or 7.5 point favorite, depending on where you look on Sunday. And it's like, just win a game, man. Win a game. Like, we want to believe. Just start playing better football. That's all it comes down to, man. Like, even with these issues, they shouldn't be 2-5. Like, I keep coming back to the fact that, like, anything that can go wrong has gone wrong. Like, Greg Zuerlein could have missed for 2 years. If he was that version, they just had one more win right now. We wouldn't be celebrating a 3-4 record.
2 more wins, right?
Yeah, like, I'll just say one just to be fair. Like, okay. Like, yeah. You know, like they stole the Titans game because Will Levis was Will Levis. Like, let's just say they had one more win right now, right? We'll be fair. They're 3-4. The whole perception of this year, while not great, it's like have a winnable game Sunday, get back to 500, right? Then look at the next 3.
Yep.
Houston, Arizona, Indy. Can you win 2 of those games? Oh, you do that? Guess what? You're 6-5 at your bye week. Not where you want to be, but certainly better than feeling like you're playing for your season every game going forward now at 2-5. That's the difference, man. It's like, as bad as all these things are you listed, like, at times Rodgers has been good enough, and then people let him down. Or he hasn't been good enough, and it's like, well, dude, like, we need you here. It's like, it's every game. It's something different why they can't win the last 4 weeks. It's insane.
But do you agree it's all on him now? Like, there's no more excuses. Like, the coaching, head coach shield is gone. The offensive coordinator shield is gone. You've brought in your best friend now because the wide receiver excuse shield is gone. He has no more protection. It's him. There's nothing else.
No, it's him, but I just wonder, is he capable of doing it? That's the thing, right? Like,
that's my concern. Is this man actually good enough to win?
Like, I think he wants to do it. I think he's all in. I do genuinely believe, like, he like believes he could be a great quarterback still, but like, is his body going to let him now? That's why I would seriously consider giving him the reset this week before you play a short week Thursday game against a good pass rush in Houston and get him going. I mean, Matt O'Leary tweeted this. Here's a live look at Aaron Rodgers right now, according to the Jets injury report. Like, it's ridiculous, man. This franchise is killing me. Couple minutes left with Ryan here. He's doing a great job, and we definitely got to get him back on the show. Feedback off the charts. Brian with a super chat here. Jake, a winning streak is a must or we're toast, one win at a time. Our defense needs to try and be one of the defenses we're used to being. Have some damn heart. Damn it. This fan base deserves the best. Well said, Brian. And you know what pains me the most, or one of the things that pains me the most, just about this year? Feels like this fan base wants it more than the players and coaches on this team. We want it more.
Now you're spitting bars.
Painful.
It's painful, man. Like and I think you make a great point about Rodgers. Like I know he's all in. I know he wants to win, but there's a point where, and this is where quarterbacks have to look at themselves in the mirror and say, how am I?
Yeah, play better.
Play better, right?
But at the same time, it's like, do they win this game if Garrett Wilson doesn't have that brutal drop that goes like it's like
yeah, I don't know.
I mean?
Again, the second half, the Steelers came out on fire and they were taking shots downfield. Like, right, they couldn't get a pass rush on Russ, right? And he was taking shots downfield. This could have been a touchdown. Like, this is insane. You know, like this only happens to like Garrett Wilson was amazing for 2 years, and now it's like he has Aaron Rodgers thrown to him, and like this happens. Like, how do you explain this? How I explain this is, why isn't my wide receiver coach ripping him a new one, saying, "Catch with your damn hands"? Why are you trying to body catch this dude? You know what I mean? Like, that's one thing. Who was it? Who was it that tweeted the other day? I think it was a former receiver in the NFL. What the hell's his name? Was it Quincy? I think it was Quincy. Quincy tweeted after this play, Quincy Enunwa, and he said, why is Garrett catching with his body and not using his hands? That's one thing that could take him to his next level. He uses his body too much on these catches. Use those hands. Like it separates you from the defender a little bit more. You know, the defender doesn't have to play you as tight if you're able to use your hands more and extend yourself from the defender. It's been ugly for him, man. And I know he's taken full accountability, which is great. And I love those comments. I do wonder, and this is what Kaz has brought up to me also, like, does the Devontae Adams upset the Garrett Wilson apple cart? Like, is he now in a mood where it's like, I am now second fiddle in this offense. I'm no longer number one. But also at the same time, like, Garrett, you haven't played like a number one.
No.
Like, that's the truth.
And he's owned it, man. He's been accountable. Like, he talked about the drop he had in the end zone. A tough play. He took a huge hit, but, like, you know, Devontae probably catches that, or, like, Justin Jefferson catches. Like, number one receivers catch that. And I think Garrett is still an ascending player. Like, if you look at his numbers compared to what Devontae was in year 3. Adams actually said this yesterday on the K. Adams weekly hit he does. Like, Garrett's ahead of him. But it's like, you just need more from your best players, man. Rodgers obviously needs to play better. We understand that. I just question how much better he could be with some of these injuries. We'll find out. But like some of the things that were supposed to be pillars for this team this year, Garrett, Brees, Sauce, you haven't had that. Like, there's very few players that have overachieved or been to the left. Like, Quinnen's underachieved. Will McDonald and like DJ Reed are the only two players.
John Simpson.
Simpson too has been pretty good. Like, there's only a handful of players you could point to that have either been what we thought or have been better. And like, that's no way to win when you're supposed to be this talented team. The talent hasn't played up to it. Some of it, I'm sure, is the coaching being abysmal, but some of it's also on these players, man. Like, go win games. Like, stop feeling sorry for yourself. Win football games. Yeah,
no, I agree, Jake. It's just and the thing that I think drives us even more nuts, besides we talked about the talent, we talked about guys underperforming, the AFC is wide open. Like,
that's what sucks, too.
It's the Chiefs and everyone else. Like,
there's going to be a bad or very flawed football team that makes one of the wild card spots, and that easily could be the Jets if they got their head out of the you-know-what.
Yeah, I mean, the Broncos are going to play the Panthers. They're going to be up to 5 wins this year, right? Like, so it's wide open, but you're missing your opportunities when you blow games like Sunday and you blow games against the Broncos. You know, the Vikings game, yes, you could have won. You had opportunities. You didn't expect to win. But even if you just win one of those games, Jake, you're feeling, like you said, you're feeling so much better about this team if they can go out there and beat the Patriots, get back to 500, and see what happens on Halloween. Yeah, man, I hate that I'm checked out. I hope I probably won't be checked out on Sunday. I'll probably get back and talk myself into, all right,
You're invited to my watch party, losers. Ryan, if you want to commiserate with fellow Jet fans. We'll be at T Squared Social in Midtown.
Go watch the lovable losers and see if they can get another win, and then I'll get my hopes up again, right?
It's what we do, man. Real quick, this one from Jay. As Maniac Nation demands more Sampson. Looks like Ryan will become a more of a recurring guest based on the feedback if he's interested.
Want to talk to Sampson?
If Tyrod and the Jets play well versus New England, what next? I think Rodgers would start, but I think I'm pro Tyrod play this week because Aaron is so banged up. I think the week off will help him because if they weren't playing Thursday, I think I would just say just play Aaron Rodgers. He's Aaron Rodgers, but they have a short week, man. They have a short week against a really good pass rush. Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter. Like if Rodgers not playing Sunday could give them an extra 20% of mobility, that's worth it against the Houston Texans on Thursday. To me, it is.
Yeah, because they have who's after the Texans? You got
then you would have 10 days to get ready for the Cardinals.
The Cardinals. Okay. It's Cardinals, Colts, and then bye week, or how's that go?
Cardinals, Colts, bye week. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. You're just trying to get to that bye week too and get healthy also. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think Rodgers is in a tough spot. I think he knows like he has to go out there and play well Sunday. I think he's going to force himself to be out there no matter what, just because it's not been pretty.
He's definitely playing. I mean, Ulbrich said he's playing.
Yeah,
so it's like, come on.
No, I know. Listen, we're looking at it at a more logical stance of like, don't force the issue. If they had won one of those games against the Broncos or the Bills, then I would say yes, you could sit Rodgers against Patriots, play Tyrod, and then go gear up for Thursday against the Texans. But since it's been so ugly and since it looks so dysfunctional, I think they are all pressing right now. You see it on the field. Garrett's pressing, Brees is pressing. Go out there and play loose. Prove us all wrong. That's what I keep asking. Just go prove us wrong.
Show us. We want to believe. Yeah. Amen. You can find Ryan on Twitter, Ryan M. Sampson. His podcast with Brian Costello and Frankie V. Gang's all here, where you can get through the New York Post and wherever you get your podcast. Before we get out of here, Ryan, anything else I missed? Anything else you could plug to the Asmaniacs who are tuned in live right now?
No, listen, Jake, appreciate you having me on. Love watching you. Same thing when you post game. Like for us, it's therapeutic for all of us to talk with the fans and chat and just get our thoughts out there. I do have the same fears and concerns as you. Is like if they keep losing games, we're gonna go from up here to now it's down. Everyone's checked out. But yeah, man, I just appreciate you having me on. Let me talk some Jets football with you. I've been loving this team since I was 5 years old, and I'm stuck in misery with just like you, man.
Unfortunately, they don't love us back. That's the problem.
No, they don't.
He is Ryan Sampson. My name is Jake Azar. Great job by Ryan joining the show. Definitely check out his podcast. Does an excellent job. All right, hit the like button if you're tuned in live right now. Let's see how many we got. We got 577 people. If we could gain some subscribers here, I would appreciate it. Click that subscribe button. It's easy. It's free. We're at 39,676. I want to get the 40K, baby, before this Jet season is officially gone. So that's why I need you guys to subscribe to the channel. Appreciate all of you for your support day in, day out. Jet it out with a super chat. I'll stay on. We'll do some calls and more of your super chats here. I like Jalen Mills over Ashton Davis at safety. Well, I got news for you. Davis in the concussion protocol. We're going to see Jalen Mills start at safety. I think it will be Jalen Mills and probably Isaiah Oliver as the Jets' two starting safeties. Chuck Clark's on IR, so he's obviously out at least 3 more games. So you're going to see Jalen Mills probably start opposite Isaiah Oliver. And honestly, Jalen Mills played with some balls on Sunday. He went in there and made plays at the line of scrimmage. He hit people. They need more Jalen Mills on this defense. Tom A says today's the 24th anniversary of the Monday Night Miracle. Jets are going to need a miracle this year to make the playoffs. Let's go. Let's go. J-Melts, Super Chat, cuts the line. Have you heard the Jets just invoiced us for next season's tickets today? What a joke this organization is. Disgraceful. I think it's pathetic they did that. The fact that they're already asking for payments when the team's 2-5, when you don't know who the coach is next year, you don't know who the GM is next year, you know who the quarterback is next year, and they're asking for money? You serious? That's BS. God bless the season ticket holders, man. You have one 1 p.m. game before December all year. When this team is in prime time, they embarrass themselves. And they're going to ask for money already? Really? Pathetic. So annoying. You know, we were talking a lot about Aaron Rodgers during that conversation there with Ryan. I want to play you Dan Orlovsky's breakdown on Rodgers. Now, is some of this injury related or is some of this just Rodgers coming off the Achilles, still just like not trusting his body. How do you explain what Orlovsky broke down on film on ESPN? Take a look.
Well, it seemed last night that Rodgers doesn't throw the ball anywhere but the perimeter with confidence. If it's a one-on-one ball on the outside, he feels good about it and he's going to cut it loose. But right now, the ball over the middle field, there's a lot of hesitation in his game. Okay, number one, the interception right before the half. I very rarely see Aaron Rodgers double clutch and not pull the trigger. If Garrett keeps this ball more vertical, that's going to be a 30-yard game, but that hesitation on what he's looking at or the trust of what he's looking at is there. Now, Garrett Wilson in the slot. RC knows this. They're playing man coverage, Pittsburgh. He's looking right at Garrett. Maybe he's staring at Devontae, but if he looks at that inside slant, the way that Minka plays over the top, Garrett might catch and run for a touchdown there. And then the final one, down in the red zone, up the top of the screen, Devontae's going to run a switch release seam. Play fake. Devontae's wide open. I mean, that's a touchdown with just a little bit of a touch throw. But again, he's like peeking at the perimeter, and it becomes a wasted rep. I think when he throws the one-on-one shoulder or back shoulder fake to the perimeter, he feels really good about it. But right now, specifically last night as well, anything that's over the middle, there's a hesitation in his game of pulling the trigger and kind of throwing guys to a spot.
Probably the most interesting play in the game for me, because if you watch the game and you watch the tape, and we're being honest, the Jets were whooping the Steelers through the first half. Steelers had one play. That was the jump ball to Pickens. And the Jets did kind of whatever they wanted. This play swings it, and this moment swings it for me. I very rarely have seen Rodgers do this and double clutch. Double clutch. And I don't know why he double clutches. The formation's into the boundary, meaning the trips is up top. The safety, Minka Fitzpatrick, is going wide. Now, is he double clutching? Does Garrett bend this too much initially, and that's why he double clutches it? Does he want Garrett to stay more vertical? And so often when you're throwing types of seams like this, the rule is, receiver, you stay vertical. I'll bleed you in because you're trying to protect him against backside safeties and whatnot. Why does he double clutch? I very rarely have seen him double clutch like that. And there's definitely, when he goes to throw that ball, some doubt in his mind of what's going on. Because if that ball's thrown here and Garrett stays vertical and he holds him vertical, that's going to be a huge chunk completion. That safety won't come into play. That double clutch, for me, it's very abnormal. Very abnormal. I have not often seen Rodgers do that. Usually it's 1, 2, 3 hitch, a little heavier and more time on that hitch, and he's going to launch that ball down the field, and it's going to be a 35-yard completion. That double clutch is so rare.
You got to get out of the funk. Maybe some of it's the injury. I don't know. Another week of Devontae here. Build that chemistry, that cohesion that they already have. Shouldn't take that long to get on the same page, right? I think it was a little unrealistic to expect Devontae to come in on Sunday and dominate right away. But you got him, you got Garrett, you got Brees. You're facing a bad team. Win, build some confidence, go from there. I would seriously consider playing Tyrod, though, on Sunday. I mean, come on, man. They could say Rodgers is fine. He's dealing with it. He'll play through it. We're talking about a 40-year-old quarterback who has a hamstring, knee, and ankle injuries that he's dealing with treatment for. And we could say, oh, well, it's not, that bad. I mean, some of the Rodgers never had great quarterback mechanics. We talked about that yesterday with Fialco. But some of the throws he missed in the Steelers game, he's Aaron Rodgers. He always hits it. Maybe the injuries and the fact that he's older dealing with these injuries is why he's not hitting some of these off arm angle throws. Maybe sitting Sunday and then being ready for Houston and then getting 10 days to get ready for the 2-game run of Arizona and Indy into the bye is what they need to get him healthy and ready to go for the stretch run if they're going to make a run. But I doubt that happens. They're going to play Aaron Rodgers. I just hope he's protected and they can run the ball. They can get him out of the game if they build a lead. It's so frustrating. Henny in the house. He writes in, Jets fans went from How do we pay all these guys? To trade Sauce and Garrett or Brees is overrated. Only Jet fans. Let's try these guys out. Why not? It's not everyone, Henny. People are just frustrated. We want to win games. Seems 2-5. It's up to tell a fan to not be angry or whatever. Tyrone with a super chat. Thank you, Tyrone. Thanks to everyone for the super chats, man. The Jets will make the playoffs. Have faith. Jets and Mets have never been perfect, but sometimes the football gods all come through. I mean, Tyrone, I get it, man, but, it's bleak right now. Now, if the Jets could find their Grimace or one of their players can come up with a song that could be a rallying point for the team, I'll take a Mets run. The Mets started 0-5. They were 11 games under 500 at the end of May. All right. Give me a Met run. Mets went to the NLCS. That's sound for an AFC Championship appearance right now. C writes in, I agree. Toxic behavior, one bad play by Garrett. Fan base wants to burn what should be a pillar in the franchise going forward. Settle down. Let me make it clear. I'm disappointed in that play from Garrett. I still believe in him as a player and a person. I'm not jettisoning Garrett Wilson. No, thank you. All right? Because even if Rodgers is not here after this year or whatever, if they have a new quarterback, if that guy doesn't have a weapon or weapons, we're going to say, well, how could we evaluate that guy unless he has weapons? I can't do it, man. I can't even fathom. Take the rookie, and that guy starts, and half the fan base hates him after his first incompletion, and the other part of the fan base is like, we need to give him more time. Then we end up giving him 3 years when the guy is fucking terrible. I can't do it anymore, man. I cannot do it. So, no, I'm not getting rid of Garrett Wilson because through 7 games this year, he hasn't been exactly what we thought, even though the last 2 weeks before this game, he looked like himself. Can't do it. Not getting rid of Garrett Wilson. Not getting rid of Sauce just yet. I'm going to take a breath. I can't go through it, man. Ladies and gentlemen, the Gustbuster hotline is open. We'll get to your calls right now. First up today is this guy.
It's time for another V-Man call. Hopefully he no sleeping. Adios mio.
Hey, Jake, what's up?
V-Man?
I was listening to your talk earlier about the stadium thing. Oh, my God, I agree completely with it. Can you imagine that? Just picture this. Picture this, Jake. Imagine having a Jet Stadium in Queens. Imagine walking in. As you walk in, there's a statue of Namath doing the figure wag as he's walking off the field in Miami. Imagine a museum dedicated to the Jets. Jets' best players. Like a museum where you have memorabilia from Maynard, Namath, Weeb Eubank. What's the coach from the 80s? I can't remember his name. I'm brain farting on it.
You talking about the Jets coach in the 80s?
Yeah.
Walt Michaels?
No, yeah, Walt Michaels, yeah, and all those guys. Like, imagine having an entire museum full of all that history and stuff.
So you want a Jet museum, man? That's what you're saying?
No, I was saying, imagine a stadium that's like tailor-made for us. Like every other team has a stadium. Teams have their own stadium. They have like museums dedicated to their team's history. They have statues for their coaches, for their great players and coaches. They have all these like fan experiences and things that that attract fans beyond just what the play on the field is. I mean, you know what it's like when we go to Yankee Stadium. They got the whole Yankee Stadium museum, and then they got like it like stretches the length of the distance between the home plate and the pitcher's mound to commemorate Don Larson's perfect game in the World Series. They have all the balls from all the Yankees players and stuff.
Yeah, I think I think it's a little different with baseball. There's more games, more history. But MetLife is bland. It's like they did it on purpose because they need to be able to like change the lights from green to blue for the Giants, and like it's just a brutal experience just going there. There's nothing appealing about it. Like
make it more. But at the end of the day, it's the same thing. Making it tailor made to the fan base, making the stadium more tailor made to the fan base, rather than just being a bland dump. As what we.
Yeah, it's a giant AC unit. It's.
I know. I'm just saying. I know. And with the Jets game, I think I agree with you on the whole rest. A-Rod, he's clearly banged up his hand. hampering his play. I think, but ultimately, I agree with you. They're probably going to start him. Hopefully, they can keep him upright. Hopefully, he doesn't get hit too much, so it doesn't affect him as much going forward. And maybe hopefully they can win. There are 2-5 teams that bounce back from this. And I agree with you. The thing is that I do want Vrabel for this team going forward. I think the best option, because I remember I was arguing with Titans fans when they gave him the can. Like, I bet those same Titans fans who were cheering his departure are probably begging him to come back now.
Yeah, look, Mike Vrabel to me would make a lot of sense, but I guess we'll get there when we get there. Can they just win on Sunday, V-Man?
Yeah, no, let's hope they win on Sunday. And also the people talking about dumping Sauce, Brees, and Garrett, are you crazy? Like, they're having a rough patch. They're young. They're still relatively young players. They're having a rough patch. We're talking about a guy who won Offensive Rookie of the Year, a guy who won Defensive Rookie of the Year, a guy who would have won Offensive Rookie of the Year had he stayed healthy. And we're talking about guys who've also made All-Pros and Pro Bowls and all sorts. Like, these are guys who are going to be, they're centerpieces of this team, and they're having a rough patch. Like I said, it happens to young players. They'll clean it up. I have faith in them. I'm not going to freak out, because then, like you said, you dump them, then you bring in a new quarterback, and you'd be like, oh, well, he has no wide receivers, he has no running backs, and yada, yada, yada. Well, yeah, because you just dumped the wide receivers and the running backs who were talented, and then what we're going to see is, then what you're going to end up seeing is Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall, and Sauce Gardner hoisting a Lombardi somewhere else, and we're all going to be like, I wonder if keeping them here would have helped us in the long term.
V-Man, excellent job out of you today, all right?
So thanks, man.
V-Man is here. How we feeling?
High at the kite.
Thank you, V-Man. Thank you. Hit the like button if you're just tuning in. Comments, questions, super chats. We'll cut the line. Derek writes in, how many plays in before Hassan fakes an injury? I don't think he's faking anything. He needs to play well to get any semblance of the money he was owed. Like, he's been fined a gazoo. He has incentives in his deal. We still don't know what the specifics are, by the way. I'm going to try and ask around on that. Was he got $1 million per sack? Probably not, but something like that. There's a risk with this, though, right? This guy's here to make money. He's not here for the Jets. We're 2-5. Like, Ulbrich is raving about his character, this and that. Like, okay. I mean, you brought a guy in who was holding out purely over money, has no relationship with any of his teammates. Now you're throwing him out there. He's here for one reason, to get money, right? He doesn't want to be a Jet. He wants to just go anywhere that will get him paid. No one will get him paid, so he's here for 10 games, and then probably that's it. There's chemistry stuff with this, too. I mean, he makes him better, yes. I think you got to try it. You got nothing to lose. But you're just throwing Hassan Reddick out there. Like, we don't know what type of shape he's in. We don't know how teammates in that locker room truly feel about him. You heard Ryan talk about the fact that that locker room loved JFM, and they were hurt when they just dumped him. Well, now here's the guy that basically was the reason why JFM got dumped. So let's see. Wrong Verb writes in, Jake, I now realize the overly positive fans just want to say I told you so as much as the overly negative ones. You should shadow around both. I don't know about the positive fans. The ones who are just overly negative would rather be right than actually root for the Jets. And those are the worst. You know what I want? I just want to win games, man. I don't care if you're overly positive or overly negative. This team just win games, man. Please. Oh, JJ, I just saw your super chat. I missed it earlier. Replace Will Parkinson with Ryan. Well, that's not happening, JJ, but thanks for the $2. That's almost a subway ride. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up. More of your calls. We got some heavy hitters on the line. Gary's next. Hello, Gary.
What's up, Jake? I think my internet's really bad. I think I got to, but let me know if it sounds okay for now.
You're okay. Go ahead.
Couple of things. First, oh man, the Nets are back. They're gonna pick 1 and 2 in this upcoming draft. Oh, this is good. We're gonna get the number 1 pick via the Knicks, and the number 2 pick with our pick. Oh, baby, we're getting Cooper and Ace. The Nets are back. Two things I understand you're like bench Rodgers, sit Rodgers. I get it. I do. And like, if we were 5-2, I would say, yeah, sit him. We have an interim head coach. If we lose this game, he will never ever live it down. We'll be 2-6. Like, he just can't risk it. Like, if we were 5-2, it's a different story. Even if we were 4-3, I would say, yeah. If Rodgers obviously isn't right, we're playing the Patriots. We should be able to beat them with Taylor. But at this point, you just can't risk it. Like, you can't. Like, if imagine we lose, it was 2-6.
I get it, but like,
he might get fired on the spot. Like you said,
if he's this banged up, though, don't you almost like Tyrod can't be that much worse? I mean, I don't know. It's not going to happen. I'm just saying, if they were not playing Thursday night against an elite pass rush, I would say play Rodgers fine. But it's a short week for a guy who's 40, who's now dealing with hamstring, ankle, and knee injuries. You're playing the worst team in football, arguably, one of them. Like, maybe you sit him, and then you go back to Rodgers with 10 days to get his body right for the Texans. And if that allows him to be 20% more mobile in that game, that will probably be huge against that defense the Texans have up front.
Yeah, no, I agree with what you're saying in theory. I'm just saying I don't think Ulbrich is in the position where he can make that a reality, right? Like, it is too much. And are you certain? Are you quite certain that we're still good enough to win without Rodgers? Like, are you positive? Because you better be 100% positive that we are.
No, I mean, I'm not certain. Like, lose, are they good enough to win with Rodgers right now, Gary?
I don't know. That's a good question. And the other thing, it's not a big thing. It's just like, it keeps rubbing me the wrong way. And your guest said it, like, they should play Braylon Allen more, and he's not impressed with Hall. Let's take Hall off the field and can we stop? Like, Allen had a good week against Tennessee. He's a change of pace back. His last 3 games, he's got 10 carries for 25 yards, 2 catches on 5 targets for 17 yards. He is what he is. He's not every down back.
We don't know that. We don't know that. What do you mean? They've had no run game all year, and a couple times they've had a run game, he's been a catalyst for it. Why not try and switch it up, give him the early down carries, and then you use Brees off of that and use Brees as a receiver more?
Because he's a change of pace back. I'm not saying don't give him no reps, never give him the ball, he's trash. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, like, that's your workhorse. You want to run him 20 times a game and Brees Hall 5 times a game? That's insane to me, right? Like, Brees Hall. Okay, then what do you say? Like, you want to take Brees Hall, who's still very well maybe your best player on offense. You want to take him off the field more and put Braylon Allen on the field more?
I would give Braylon Allen some early first and second down carries on some drives at the beginning of the game. I wouldn't wait till like the second quarter to let Braylon Allen get a drive where he's the lead tailback.
He's got 25 yards and 2 catches on 5 targets for 17 yards the last 3 weeks. Like, I'm not saying he sucks. Don't take it that way. I'm saying that he's got some running. He got no touchdowns. He's put some yards. He's put some yards on the odometer, right? Like, he's tallied up some yards, hasn't he? He just hasn't
Braylon Allen, I'm not saying should start over Brees. I think you're misinterpreting what we're saying here. We're just saying there's a creative way to maybe try and get this running game going with that physicality he brings. Brees is more of a finesse back. He's not a power guy like Braylon Allen. I think this team needs to come out with that mentality Rodgers was talking about. And the guy who embodies that, hey, we're going to smash you in the mouth, we're going to win the game ourselves, is the guy who's 245 pounds of pure muscle. Use him.
How many? I'm not, like, this is going to come off as Gary's hating on Braylon Allen. I'm not. Like, to me, he's the equivalent of what a role player is in basketball. And you're saying, let's use the role player of the superstars. Like, let's not do that, right? I understand that he doesn't. I'm not saying he sucks. Like, I've come off that, but he doesn't suck. He doesn't. But I'm saying, how many runs does he have for 8 yards or 10 yards this year? Like 3, 4? He just, I'm saying he got a couple of good runs early in the season, and since then he's done nothing. Not that he sucks, but he's a role player, right? He's a back who changes things up. There's a role for him in the NFL. Like, most teams would take Braylon Allen. I'm just saying, like, I'm not running my running game through Braylon Allen when I have Brees Hall.
Their running game is non-existent right now. Why not try and do something a little different? Allen is hitting the holes better at times than Brees did.
Okay. Like I guess like I'm just the one with like go take dance with the girl you took to the whatever how that saying goes.
I'm not saying bench Brees, Gary.
Whatever.
I'm not saying bench Brees. I think there's an argument to be made though that when they start 1st and 10 at their own 25, maybe Braylon Allen gets the first handoff, and then Brees comes in and you use him a lot on 3rd down. You use him in the screen game more. You get him involved as an all-around playmaker rather than just trying doing these inside zone runs that he's not getting any yardage from right now. I don't put it all on him. I don't think the line is blocking particularly well right now. And I think Braylon Allen could have a bigger role in this offense. I think there's a way to have a balanced rushing attack like what the Jets had in 2010 with Sean Green and LaDainian Tomlinson. Like, that's what I'm talking about here. Or in 2009, when they had Thomas Jones, who led the NFL in rushing, but by the end of that season, Sean Green was the one who was having a bigger role in the offense because he was emerging. Like, that's what we're talking about.
All right. I mean, let's get a lead. Let's go so that we can run the ball. We don't have to throw the ball. Well, let's do the little things. Let's get a lead so that we can use the run game. We don't have to throw all 3 downs. This should be a feel-good week, right? Like we should be able to beat New England. We should be able to dominate them. Hopefully we can beat them 20-10, something like that, and just feel a little bit better. Because I don't think anyone realistically thinks they're going to the Halloween game and winning right now. But maybe that changes, right? Let's get a win and let's just try to change things right now. Let's just let's win on Sunday and try to end this train wreck for at least a week.
Knockouts don't matter if you land enough jabs. You can do music.
Thank you, Gary. God. More of your calls. Indy Jets is next. Hey, Indy.
It gives me a headache.
Me too.
And I agree with you, Jake. You put Allen in there and let him just beat on that defensive line for a little bit. And they're going to get, when they try to tackle, at 230 pounds, 230, 240, and then you throw Brees in there. They're going to, even if it's just for, that 1st and 2nd down, you throw a 3rd and 3 and you throw Brees in there. I agree with you. He's going to probably be more effective after they've gotten tired of tackling Allen. But to say no, you're not benching Brees, but let the rookie beat on them guys for a little bit.
I agreed. I mean, you got to do something different, man. Like, and look, I think Downing has done a much better job at the play calling. You need the players to play better, man. Aaron included. Like, it's just they shouldn't be 2-5. Figure it out. You're playing the Patriots; they stink. Figure it out. Yeah,
and you put Allen in the backfield, and you put Brees, split out wide, and you let Aaron decide: are we going to run it this time, or is the options? It's let him decide right when he comes up to the line. He can change that. If it looks good, he passes it. If he wants to keep beating on the defensive line a little bit, let him do that. But no, I agree with you. He's not, we're not benching Brees. I mean, that just makes no sense. I don't think Gary could get that in his head that we're not benching him. But yeah, let the rookie beat on them guys for a little bit. And then next thing you know, Brees comes out there for a 20-yard run and they're gassed.
Like, Gary, do you remember how the Giants used – great call, Andy. Do you remember how the Giants used Brandon Jacobs and Ahmad Bradshaw? That's what we're talking about here. Like, I can't. Chris, already looking at Jordan Travis highlights. Well, you won't see him play until the preseason next year, so enjoy. The pain never ends. Kyle Clifton's next. Hello, Kyle.
Hey, what's going on, Jake?
What's up, Kyle?
So, kind of piggybacking, oddly enough, on what Gary was saying. Brees has had a great deal of success as a runner. Did you happen to see in that Orlovsky clip where he threw the first pick to Beanie Bishop? He had Brees running wide open underneath.
Correct. And it was like second and
4.
Yeah, 2nd and 4. So it's like
second and 4, and they had plenty of time. So this is a guy that we brought in to manage the game like this professionally. I don't understand what he's doing right now.
And he was the first, 3 weeks of the year, I thought, like the first week 1, the interception wasn't on him. And then week 2, he was efficient, took care of the ball. That was the difference. Levis didn't, made the adjustments on the last drive, was great. Week 3 was the breakout game. He looked like MVP Rodgers. And since then, he's taken a beating. And I think it's affected every part of his body, decision-making. He's a Jet. And this is what happens when you become a Jet.
No, he clearly didn't understand like the game situation there. We needed to just get points on the board and keep the ball away from the Steelers, and then we were getting the ball coming out of the half.
Yeah, I mean, he admitted after the game, he's like, it's a bad decision by me. He's like, I was trying to do too much. He's like, I wanted to, get us an opportunity to score and then double up at the end of, double up at the start of the third, because it's the first time the Jets were going to get the ball to start the third quarter of this year. And, he made a bad play. It can't happen.
My second point is having to do with Mike Williams. You were saying maybe the Bucks. I agree it has to be an NFC team. The other two that are springing to mind right now might be the Vikings and the Commanders. Because just looking at some of these other teams that look like they might be in contention, those are the 3 most prominent teams with a need and that might be contending. Your thoughts on that?
I want to keep Mike Williams, but
I do too. I absolutely do too.
Yeah, those teams make sense for sure. You're not going to get a lot for the guy, so it's like, why not just keep him? Like, I don't see why we're in such a rush to get rid of the guy.
So if it happens, it would probably only happen if there were a catastrophe we lost on Sunday, right?
Yeah. Let me paraphrase. If they lose Sunday, anyone who can get anything for, trade them. Get picks. You're not going anywhere. If you can't beat the New England Patriots and you fall to 3-6, come on.
All right. Thanks for your time, Jake.
Kyle, thank you. All right, some super chats here, man. Going to the Jake Asman Chipotle fund, folks. Trey writes in, as a Jet fan, I've never felt more seen. Thank you, Ryan. Jake, Ryan, great guest. Got to pair him with Fialco. All right, Trey. Appreciate you, man. 25 in the house. Ravens use Justin Hill a lot to help Henry. Yeah, I guess Gary doesn't understand the concept of like having more than one good running back. Like there's a way to mix both guys into the offense. Crazy, man. Now, 25, I got to ask, man. Have you recovered from what was a wild night for you Sunday night? Dude fell asleep on the air. He was on hold trying to call into the show, and he fell asleep. Said that he got really drunk watching the debacle of the Jet game, and he fell asleep. And we tried to do like everything in our power to like wake him up on the show, and unfortunately, like nothing was working. We tried playing every sound effect, the alarm sound effect, King Lowski's Jet chant, Charles Gorman chewing. We had like a bunch of different mechanisms to get this guy to wake up, and unfortunately, nothing was working. We even had the Lane train call in, and a guest with a little Cajun accent.
25.
In the year 25.
25.
Is he ever gonna stay alive?
25.
Man, Lane couldn't wake up. 25. Tammy C couldn't wake up. 25. Boba Jet in the house. We've been losing, and Gary wants to keep doing the same thing. Make it make sense, Gary. What evidence you got that says Allen has a change of pace? Gary's going to Gary, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, more of your calls right now. If you're just tuning in, please click the like button, subscribe to the channel, and please come out to our watch party on Sunday. Win or lose, we booze. We'll have a great time at T-Squared Social. Great spot to watch a game. We'll have all the other games on, too, so you can watch the Jets and still follow your bets and fantasy team. Don't you worry. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us right now is someone who we detest.
Warning! Warning! Allen alert! Shit's about to get ugly, folks. Warning! Allen alert! Hide the children.
Hello, Allen.
Good morning, Jacob. 2 quick comments before I make 2 points. First of all, how do you lose a hockey game when you allow 11 shots on goal?
Dude,
first of all.
They are just a brutal watch right now. You see how little attendance they had last night at UBS?
Yeah, nothing will change until Lou goes. That's all. I'll just say that. Secondly, I appreciate the pleasantries yesterday by Rob the Jet fan. I don't think he'll ever get over the fact that I was right about Salah. Never. He will never. So I appreciate it. Continue it coming. Here are my 2 points. First of all, I hate disagreeing with Gary and agreeing with you, but I'd start Tyrod and I'd start Fashanu on Sunday, especially with Houston 4 days away. It makes no sense not to start Tyrod on Sunday. I don't get it. I understand you're 2-5.
Yep. Build a lead and then get Rodgers out of the game. But like, I agree. Like, if you ever were going to play Tyrod Taylor, this is the week to do it so Rodgers could get healthy before you play a very good pass rush with a short week coming up.
It makes no sense. I'd start Tyrod Sunday. If you can't beat the Patriots with Tyrod and Fashanu, then there's many more problems beyond the quarterback. So here's my second point. I remember when Salah came in and everybody's like, oh, the Jets don't look at safety as a major need. They don't see it as a change player or like a game-changing player. But then I watch Xavier McKinney and then I watch Brian Branch make plays week after week. And I wonder, is that the right strategy? Because the problem with the Jets is they don't turn people over. And those two guys have completely transformed defenses in Green Bay and Detroit, while the Jets don't have any guys in the defensive backfield who make plays. So that's where, if you have a chance, if Andrew can do some game film on both those players, maybe in the next couple of weeks when the Jets are completely out of it, just show everybody what those guys have done to their defenses and how big of a difference guys like that would make to this defense. Honestly, they are game changers, and the Jets don't have guys like that. And that's why I don't understand.
Though. Well, but part of the problem is like you feel it more this year because they're not getting the rush they used to have. They used to have an elite defensive line. They don't have that right now.
I understand that, but they don't have guys in the defensive backfield. Maybe a couple of times with Eccles, they don't turn guys over. They don't turn teams over. They don't make plays on the defensive backfield. And people are talking about, oh, they don't look at the safety position as one of those game changers. But you look at those two guys I mentioned, they change defenses. They turn people over. So if you have a chance, just look at the film of the way those two guys have changed the defenses in Green Bay and Detroit and how big of a difference a guy like that would make here in New York. That's what I just have to say.
Couldn't hurt. Good call, Alan. But you know, I think when you look at like how other teams feel about safety, like look at the AAV for like the top safeties in the league. Like it's considerably lower than linebacker, DT, DE, corner. So that's just like a Jet philosophy. That's how a lot of teams feel about it. I think it's magnified this year because the defensive line was a strength for this team, and it's not right now. Jermaine's injury is a death sentence. They never, to this point, have been able to replace Huff because Reddick hasn't played a game yet. That changes Sunday, but what version of Hassan Reddick are we getting? You know, it's been tough. Snake writes in, best Jet content on YouTube. Thank you, Snake. I appreciate that. To everyone who supports the channel. You guys know I got love for you. Hey, Patreon users, yesterday, if you didn't see the announcement, I posted a bonus show. So check that out. Join the Patreon. Support me there. Patreon.com/Jake Asman Show. Gain access to our Discord. Get your name in the intro. Get yourself 15% off every merch item in the jakeasman.com merch store. Thank you to Zach, James, Allison, Jeff, Jay, and Alexi for being our most recent Patreon subscribers. 25 writes in, oh, yeah, I was 20 beers deep and at least 3 blunts. That'll do it. Got time for one last call. We're back at 4 p.m. Eastern today with Jeff Parles in his weekly spot. Sonny, close us out today. Sonny, what do you got for us?
Hey, Jake. How are you, man?
What's up, Sonny?
Not too much. I think Rodgers has got to play this week. I don't think there's any way he really sits out with the entire season on the line. But more importantly, this is just not the same defense we've been watching for the past couple of years. The run game, I mean, I don't know what to make of it. It's like a completely different team. A lot of guys are blaming Aaron Rodgers. I get it. He hasn't played to the level we've hoped he would, but I think outside of a game or two, he's done enough to win most of these games. All I can say is I hope to get this thing turned around on Sunday versus the Pats and get the win. Go Jets.
Ladies and gentlemen, Sonny on Long Island. They better win, Sonny. They can't lose. I mean, they can easily lose. They're the Jets, but it's like, what are we talking about for 9 more games if they're 3-6? Unreal. Wild show. I want to thank everyone for your support. You guys were great. Shout out to everyone for making this channel what it is. Win or lose, this community never fails. So I want to thank you all for that. We'll be back in a few hours with Jet Parles. We'll get his take on the state of the Jets and obviously the Tyrod Taylor debate. Would it make sense to sit Rodgers for this game with a short week next week against an elite pass rush and play Tyrod against a bad Patriots team? We'll get more into that in the afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jake Asman. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I'm convinced you hate me. And if you hate me, you probably are going to want to hate watch me. So subscribe anyway. That's okay. As long as you watch, I don't care. Thanks for your support. Hang in there, Jet fans. We're in this together. I'll be back in a few hours. Talk to you then. Like and subscribe. Go Jets, everybody. And hang in there, folks. Hang in there.
Charles, you watched the debate last night?
Yes, I did.
What were your thoughts?
I'm not a fan of the guy who's in office, and I'm not a fan of RFK.
Sounds like you're a Trump guy, if I'm interpreting that right.
You could pretty much say that.
Please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore.
Some of your calls actually remind me of our president last night. Your mama told me that your last name was Gormani, but it was changed to Gorman at Ellis Island.
You never talked to my mom.
You don't know that.
My last name is Gorman, not Gormani. I'm 7/8 Italian and 1/8 Irish.
Gormani changed the Gorman at Ellis Island.
Didn't know about that.
See?
Right, definitely.
It's good talking with you, Bobby. Are you doing another show today or no?
Yeah, after the 6:30 show, I'm going to do my show. Nice to talk to you, Charles.
Take care, Bobby.
Who was that lovely lady?
That was Carly.
Oh. Anyway.
Yep. Charles, I think we talked about you calling in and chewing on the air again. You couldn't wait till after your call to eat. You talk to me and then you eat.
Anyway,
this is a great angle for you, Charles. Even better angle. Where are you calling us from?
Burger King in Hope Lawn.
What did you get?
A BK Raw Crispy Sandwich with Swiss cheese on it. No tomato. About to finish up my fries. I'm about to have a slice of birthday cake.
Very nice. Charles, I think you should give all your takes from this angle moving forward.